Welcome back to the Compound Podcast. This is episode 193, presented by Connect Roasters, the best coffee in the game. You can use code Compound Club for 25% off your first Home Run Club shipment. That is the monthly subscription where coffee gets sent right to your door. Plenty of options to choose from. You can go to connectroasters.com to see that, or you can use code Compound15 for 15% off site-wide, whatever coffee you want to try. Maybe send some to your friends. Dakota's been sending coffee to his friends for years. That's how he shows his love.
That's right.
Bags of coffee to everybody he knows.
That is a fact.
Connectroasters.com to learn more. There's not a ton going on, but there's some stuff. There's some stuff we can talk about. There's a little bit.
Not a ton is such a nice way to put it.
It's got to start like happening again soon, right?
You know, it's making our jobs hard. I'll tell you that.
Somebody call up Scott Boris and be like, "Hey, listen, enough's enough. Boys need content."
That's what they don't realize. It's selfish on their part that we're just out here in the cold. Like, what do we talk about?
Yeah,
exactly right. Selfish. I was working out today and I was listening to Talking Baseball a little bit, and it was a previous episode, and they were like in the middle of January. Maybe it was actually a recent one. They're in the middle of January, and they were like, January, not a great month. I agree. January, not much going on. February, at least when the calendar hits February, you're 2 weeks away from spring training, pitchers, catchers, like baseball's going to start again. January, when the free agent market's not moving, there's just not a lot there.
It's true, man. I actually had that thought today. I was like, man, January stinks.
I can't believe it's still January. January always feels so long. It's like, how is it still January? It's been January for 6 years. Let's go. We need to start with February. Let's start with a short month and like ease our way into the year.
I like that. That's a good idea, Tom.
I like that. Maybe let me flip the calendar. I was in, Chicago and then Austin, and the weather was just trash until this week, and now it's really, really nice. But like Chicago, it was freezing during CubsCon, and I got back to Austin. It was cold. It rained for like 10 straight days. And now the weather finally starting to turn. I can go play golf. I want to be happy again. But let me tell you, the middle of January was a real grinder for me. Real grinder.
I don't think
not a lot to talk
I haven't seen the sun in like 3 weeks. I'm not joking.
I was gonna say you're getting zero sympathy from our end.
Every day on the weather app, it's just cloud. That's
all it is. You will be unhappy.
Seasonal depression is real.
Yeah,
it's real.
But I'm here for the seasons. I am here for the seasons. Tell you what.
No. Sounds great. It's going to be 70 and I'm playing golf tomorrow. So yeah, that's really,
I get enough 70 degrees during the season. It's all good.
Yeah, man. No. Yeah. Too much of that.
You've never heard of fall foliage in your life and you have no idea what it does. So
spend a lot of time around the foliage.
You got no
foliage all year round. There's foliage here in December. It's great.
No, listen.
I get the foliage.
All you get is the dormant. You get the dormant grass. The yellow grass is what you get.
You know what's a lot better than? You know what yellow grass is a lot better than? It's a lot better than snowy, sloppy crap that you're looking at right now.
No.
Yeah.
You know why? It's called grit. Look it up.
I'm going to start.
That's your homework. Look up grit.
I'm going to start this pod, and I want to talk about the Cubs. I want to talk about Hector Neris.
Nasty.
Do you guys know how consistent Hector Neris is, guys? The last 3 years,
guy posts, man, he's out there.
If you go back to 2019, 68 appearances, and then 2020 he made 24 appearances, pretty impressive. Then 74, 70, 71, and early in his career, 79, 74. The guy pitches. That's what he does. The guy just goes out there and logs innings. And he was 71 games, 68 innings last year with a 1.71. That's pretty impressive.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. He's been an above average pitcher every year of his career except one, which was 2018. He's been an above average pitcher every year.
What was his K to walks last year?
77 punches, 31 walks.
Or play.
His most punches in a year was 102 out of the bullpen. That's ridiculous. 79 appearances, 80 innings, 102 punchies with 30 walks in 2016. That's terrifying.
Have either of you faced him?
I have faced him. I've definitely faced him with maybe Philly, and I don't think I might have faced him one time last year. can look that up real quick and tell you. I faced him 3 times.
Zachary, have you?
No.
He's punched me. I grounded out, hit it hard, then I popped up.
But ground outs don't count.
I mean, I'm just telling you what I did. I'm 0 for 3 with a pop up, a ground out, and a punch.
But I'm saying, I'm not trying to tear you down, but like saying I hit it hard
You
on the
are tearing
ground.
me down, man.
But I'm saying like, oh, you can hit it 110 on the ground. It's like, who cares?
Are we anti-fluffers now?
No,
Yeah,
but
what's
would you
wrong
agree
with
with
you?
that, Zach? Zach, would you agree with me on that?
No. You won't never. If I fucking hit a ball on the ground hard, yeah, I smoked it.
Isn't it also easier to hit it harder on the ground?
Yeah, but hitting's hard. So it's all
It
hard.
is. And that's what I mean. I'm not trying to stir it up.
You are.
Just
It's
saying,
just literally you right now.
hitting it hard on the ground means nothing if it's right at someone.
He did throw me. He froze me with a splitter, like a weird splitter that I thought was going to go this year. I faced him. Actually, I just looked it up. Oh,
Whoa.
Why did you have balloons going?
I don't know. He threw me a splitter that I thought was going to go off the plate, and it stayed true and maybe even cut a little bit. And so he punched my ticket. And I just watched it go. Just watched it.
So if that happened earlier in the count, right? So you see a splitter and you're expecting it to go the other way and it goes the other way. Will you sometimes turn to the catcher and be like, that was interesting. Like, what do you got there? What was that? Do you ever do that?
I
No.
don't do that. Do you do that? Do you talk to the catcher a lot? I don't really ask the catcher because I don't think
I was going to say,
me.
Zach,
No.
do you know Ian? Do you think he
No,
can
I know.
use
But
his
sometimes, like,
with
I
the
don't know.
catcher?
Sometimes I'll be like, I mean, what the fuck was that? Like, just like even if it was like, if I take it, I'm like, I remember, I don't know if I said this, like, Foles, friend of the pod, Jason Foley, threw Benintendi like a nasty front hip, like 3 and like 19 sinker at like 99 or
Can
something
you
like
tell
that.
people what 3 and 19 is? Because nobody knows what that means, man.
Yeah, so it's the horizontal and vertical break. So it, what was it? Like 16 or I think 17 for vertical break is average.
So that would so if it's 19, it would mean that it's like very like rising almost.
Yeah, no, but he had 3 vertical breaks, so it was going down. Yeah, it was
It's a
going.
sinker.
Yeah, it's a sinker. It's going down with 19 inches of horizontal movement. So just like, oh, pow, right at like 99 or something, like maybe a little bit. I don't know what the metrics were, but like I'm pretty sure Benintendi turned around and was like, because our scoreboard has the metrics, and he turned around to Rogers and he was like, 3 and 19 and 99. Are you fucking kidding me? Like, just like, come on, man.
Put it this
Yeah,
way: for
'cause-
vertical break, you either want to go
Yeah,
up in
way
the
up.
20s or way down low, close to 0. Like you don't want to be
Yeah.
anywhere around 12 to 15.
That would basically be like throwing a splitter or some kind of change up that moved a ton, but also was really, really fast.
It's basically
Yeah.
a left-handed slider.
Slider,
at
right?
99.
Exactly. Yeah.
Essentially.
Can I ask you guys? Because I think one thing people would be curious about: how much talking is there going on during the game between hitters and catchers? Because obviously you see it at first base, but like,
I always make a point to say hi my first at bat. I'll say hi to the catcher and the ump. Just kind of, usually everybody does. Just like, hey, what's going on? How you doing? Good to
Help
see
me
you.
out here, Blue. Help me out, Blue.
Yeah,
Please,
right.
Blue.
Except for friend of the pod, Jan Gomes, just big leagues, younger guys.
not that you're speaking from experience.
You'll never get over that.
No. But yeah, I mean, for the most part, everyone, they say, hey, what's up, Shorty? What's going on? How you doing? Again, like sometimes if either a pitch was nasty or whatever, I'm like, oh wow, like that was gross, whatever. But I don't say all that much. There's definitely guys who you can see him talking like the whole at bat. I mean, it's hard, like, especially now with the clock too, like it's a really hard thing to balance, talking and making sure that your eyes are up at 9 seconds.
I'm just picturing in my head, and I know Ian does not talk. I don't even know if he says hi his first at bat. Probably not. He can talk in a second. I can literally picture Ian's face. Like I feel like he's in the box and it's a scowl on his face from the moment he leaves the on deck circle to he leaves the batter's box. Like
I will say
Ian's not a chatter.
Ian and I are on the same page though. I asked the umpire a few things like, hey, is that as far as you're going? Or like if I swung and foul one off, like, hey, is that a strike?
That's a huge one. I feel like almost all hitters, like if it's like a outer third strike call, it's like, hey, like, is that the edge?
Right.
And then because then if they throw one farther off, you're like, hey, fucker, you just told me that was the edge.
You just told me that was as far as you're going, Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, you do a lot of talking to the umpire to try to establish where his zone is, try to get your eyes calibrated, especially like first couple at bats, first at bat, like get your eyes calibrated on where you're at that day. Like if he calls a pitch on the corner, asking him if that's the corner, because then you can go back, check it on the iPad. You understand where he thinks it is, where you think it is, then you can kind of check on the iPad after. So a lot of talking to the umpire, but I do say hi to the catcher. Thank you very much. I say hi to the catcher. Make sure I say hello to the catcher and the umpire. The only time I talk to the catcher mid at bat is if it's a guy that I've played with and I know. So like we've had a lot of catchers actually come through, whether that's like Maldonado or Tony Walters, or like a bunch of dudes. But like Caratini and I are really close. We came up together. So like when Vic's catching, like I'll always talk to Vic. Like if he stops a ball or makes a nasty pick, I'll just be like, "Ooh, Poppy, how'd you do that?"
Yeah, that's what I do that. Like, damn, that was nice.
Yeah. Wilson, obviously, now that he's with the Cardinals, talk to him. But
you also tried to fight Wilson.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to bring that up. I was like, I don't know if you still talk.
Yeah, guys like that, I'll talk to a little bit. I don't like when catchers try to talk to me during it, but I just like I'm pretty focused. So like
you're not trying to have like a full blown like, oh, how's your family? Like it's like, hey, how's it going? All right, now we go. And then
most
like,
catchers,
something little happens.
And most catchers don't try to talk to you. But the other thing is, if there's a replay review and like you're the guy that's up there, like I'll talk to Real Muto or somebody, like guys that I've played against for a while, like do that. But
it's so weird because like especially now, like you hear older players like, oh my God, everyone's best friends now, and like which I totally get. Like it is kind of like. I've talked about it, like even how protected we are as infielders at second base. Like it has changed so much, even like talking, like it was never really a thing. And I don't know when it changed. But I mean, if it's tied in the 9th inning or 7th, 8th, 9th, you're not saying anything to anybody for the most part, like
it's, but sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I might have bad hearing, but I always find it hard to have conversations like on second base. Like if there's a shortstop or a second baseman that and you want to talk to the guy, like I always I'm like, so much going on. I'm getting my lead. I'm thinking about stuff. And then like when that guy's trying to talk to you, but you can't, you're like, what?
I'm telling my favorite story. I don't want
to be mean, but like if I can't hear you, like I'm not trying to ignore you. I just can't hear you.
I mean, dude, my favorite story about Andrelton Simmons, I think I've told this one where like we were in 21 and our pregame meeting against the Twins. It's third time telling?
No. Keep going.
What?
It is, but keep going, please.
Go ahead.
No, tell the story.
Some people are new to the pod. Some people are new to the pod.
I know. Like, it just made me laugh.
To Ian's point, like shortstops will try to talk to you, and someone like a vet like Andrelton Simmons, like one of our keys against him was, hey, like he's going to try to get in your head, especially younger guys. Like he'll try to catch you off guard. And I think I pinch run in the 10th inning and he's like, Shorty, how you doing, man? Like, how's the family? You married? You got kids? And I'm like, Andrelton, seen enough of you, brother. I'm not talking to you. And he started dying laughing. He's like, what? I'm just trying to get to know you.
He was a beauty too.
He was awesome. I got a chance to play with him. Absolute beauty and smart out there. He's always trying to backpick guys.
Dude, if you're bored, man, go watch some of his things on YouTube, like the fake cutoff, and then, oh my God, bro.
There's Lindor's like that too. Lindor's always trying to backpick you. He's always looking. He's so casual, but he's always looking. And that's like one of the things in the meeting I always bring up whenever we play. Now it's the Mets. Whenever we play the Mets, I'm like, do not sleep on Frankie because he will throw that shit behind you with your head down every time.
I think it's really cool too. Sorry, Dakota, really quick. Like to that, how like they're always looking. Like it's hard as an infielder too when the base coaches, as they should be, they are locked in on you. Like obviously the third base coach is giving signs, but like for me, if I'm ever a first base coach, and like I've noticed great first base coaches, like they don't leave. Like they are locked in on you because as an infielder, you're given something like maybe a glove tap or maybe doing something. And then as soon as you do it, they're like, hey, like keep your eyes on him, like,
and then you get all paranoid and you're like, what? How did you see that? How did you know?
You did nothing. You went like this, like, oh, you're actually chasing a fly or something. And he's like, hey, saw that.
But that's like, are all base coaches like that? I guess I don't know. I have no experience with it. Cause I'm saying like, I feel like you said, like as a first base coach, especially from the moment you start to take your lead, their eyes should never leave the pitcher or
Right.
where the ball is, because it could happen at any moment. So
but
like,
not
they
even
have to stay
as you
locked in.
get your lead, like even as soon as as the ball is thrown back, bro. Because like if I give something from the catcher, like we may have something like, hey, if I turn to the outfield, like it's on, like not even like making eye contact, but like he should never ever leave your eyes.
But that's Dakota. I think Zach's talking about if it's a situation where there's a runner on second or first and second, then the first base coach's priority goes to middle infield and making sure the first baseman, if they're coming to back pick. So that guy, when there's just a runner on first base coach is locked in on pitcher if there's going to be a throw behind. But in the other situation, he's now responsible for all the fielders and where they're moving. And as an infielder, you get super paranoid when someone's staring at you and you think they can see everything. Like
it is underestimated how much the first and third base coaches like have to pay. Like you said, like you have to see where you can never lose the ball. No matter what, you have to know where the ball is. And then you have to watch all infielders at all times, especially if multiple guys are on.
Bro,
like you said.
There is such a sense of comfort at first base when you have a great first base coach. Like in Detroit, we had two really good ones. I don't know, maybe it was because of the first time, like in the minor league, sometimes you have pitchers out there, like people who don't really pay attention or like, a guy who's not playing. So like when I debuted, Ramon Santiago was in my ear like the whole entire time, going over like the most basic shit. But like, as as a base runner, you're trying to cover every base, obviously. And like, hey, this is a good count. He throws a lot of, he throws a lot of, 1-2 curveballs, like in the dirt, like be ready to go. Like, hey, by the way, right fielder shifted now, it's 2 strikes. And you're like, oh shit. Okay. Like, got it. And then I don't know if Ian, if you guys do it, like they'll have something, if you're hot, like they know the signs just as much, if not way better than you do.
Way better than other players.
There's sometimes where I'm looking back, I'm like, what? He gave something? He goes, no, AJ gave it to me from the dugout, like straight up.
It's amazing. And it's amazing when you have first base coach who knows the first baseman in the league too. Like Knapp's real good at this. Like if there's a first baseman that he knows listens, then instead of being hot like in your ear and being like, hey, you're going, or hey, you're green, it'll be like a squeeze. Like he'll just squeeze your back.
Squeeze is a big one.
And like, because you know that there's guys that first basemen that are reeling.
But how would you not listen if you're a first baseman? Like if I'm a first baseman, I'm standing there and you're right behind me, I'm like, oh,
because bro, they're in your ear.
They're in your ear. They're in your,
but I'm saying like, I'm sure there are times where they hear it. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm sure there's been times where first baseman's like overheard, like, hey, you're going.
I've heard from somebody, I don't want to give his name away, but like he's a vet, been around a while, like listens and tells it as soon as like, hey, might be going here. And it's just like, you don't say anything. The guy's a vet and it's just like, what are you going to do?
Hey, come on, man.
Yeah. And I'm sure that there's times where like first baseman will give it to the catcher, like, hey, like he's going, just like something.
I always felt like playing against Yachty. I always felt like he knew what was happening before it was happening, because he would give signs and he would look at you
the whole time.
First,
yeah.
He would just be looking at you and you'd just be like, dude, what do you know?
It's still one of the greatest clips ever. The Yachty one with Jose Siri.
Oh my God.
In spring training. And he like tried to backpick him and Siri like shook his finger at him or something. And he goes, go ahead. Like, go ahead, try it. And he just
throws him out by like 10 feet
and stares him down. He's like, don't test me.
Yeah,
like, come on.
Guys who can do stuff like that. Like I've seen 2 examples of like what you guys are talking about in baseball, with like guys who have just unique abilities to do one thing at a superhuman level that they're average to everything else. I remember this pitcher, Zack Johnson, pitched in Bellingham when I worked there, lefty. And he'd pitched for the team the 2 previous years, came in like halfway through the season. One of the guys was like, watch when a guy gets on. Just watch when a guy gets on. First guy gets on, shoom, picked off.
Yeah.
He had the greatest pickoff move that literally every time he pitched, the first guy who got on was just automatically out. I've never seen anyone that every game, the first time the guy who got on, it was over. The guy was just immediately out. And then after that, every guy was just like foot on the base, not moving. And it's one of those things that if a guy has an ability like that, it all of a sudden, like, You talked about Anderson Simmons. He's a guy who hung around the league for so long because he was just so fucking good defensively, so smart, and was able to do enough of those things to keep a career for that long.
Dude, between that and if somebody, like you said, if somebody has a good move, and then like if somebody like Yachty loves to backpick, like your primary lead is small, and then your secondary lead is even smaller. You're like, if I get like an inch further than the normal lead, like he's picking off. So it's like you're not getting aggressive, and then you're a half a step late going. If you try to go first or third, like you don't get a good jump. Like it plays such a pivotal role in controlling that part of the game.
It is funny though that I'd say 75% of the time, if it's a righty that picks someone off, it was a balk move.
Oh yeah.
Would you agree with that? Like
front knee buckle. Nobody calls the front knee buckle.
No. And that's what, like, we played with Thomas Hatch. We got drafted with him. I think he's with the Blue. I forget who he's with now.
No, he's overseas now.
That's right. He signed in Korea or Japan. He had a balk move, and coming up, he'd pick off like a guy a game or something. Like he'd pick off guys all the time, and it was legit a balk move, but it's never called. Like Ian said, like when you're front, and for those at home, it's like they bend their front knee first, which is technically a balk because like you can't move anything until you disengage with the rubber. So like runners see that leg move, the lead leg, and they're like, oh, he's lifting. And they're like, oh, wait, he's coming over here. He can't do that. And it's never called because it's so fast.
And the whole dugout will scream and be like, hey, what are you looking at? Can you see that? And every umpire's like, oh.
But to be fair,
I don't see it. It's a good
people
move.
that are good at it are very good at it. Like he's very good at it. It's like a split second difference, but it's enough like a runner. Like, isn't that like kind of your key is kind of that front leg?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And the one thing that I do say to guys on the bases, especially if I'm a trail runner at first, I will look at the first baseman and I will say, do not get any ideas. Do not think about running back behind me and trying to pick off over here. I'm not going anywhere. Okay. I'm going to stand right here. We have an agreement. You hang out over there and I'll be here, and we're not back picking.
You know what would make an incredible clip is if Riz got you with a back pick. That'd make a great
that would
clip.
be
I'm
so
sorry,
close.
but that'd be such a good clip.
When I got over there last year, I was like, don't you dare. Don't you dare
Just
try
leave me
anything.
alone.
I'm not running. Don't. And he'll because we're close, so we're having like a full blown conversation. I'm like, don't you dare. Don't you dare. We're talking about golf. We're talking about your place in New York, talking about all this stuff. Don't you think? Or I went to dinner last night. We're not going to have this conversation here. And then you're going to come over with some crazy back pick. We're not doing it. I watched you do it for too long.
But I was going to say, he's one of those guys, though, that kind of is like in Jarrell Simmons. Like he loves trying to find those little ways to steal an out.
He was so good at that running behind with a first and third or first and second back pick.
Well, so that's the thing.
So
like
good.
Back to the first base coach, like especially if there's a guy, if you're the trail, if you're either runner, I know if you're the trail runner, like they are locked in on the first baseman, but they can only do it for so long. Like they have to watch if the ball's hit. So they wait until someone like Riz will wait until the last possible second to where it's too late for the coach to turn around. And by that time he's on the base, and then you're screwed.
Yeah. And I tell Nap sometimes when I get a little paranoid, I go, you got that guy? You watching him? Because I'm not watching him.
I always, if he
runs back behind me,
you
I'm
got him
like an idiot. Yeah.
You got him.
You watch him.
You're based off sound. All you can hear is him running in. Like you can't turn and look at him. He's behind you. Like you have to watch the pitch.
You have to watch the catcher. Like you're going off of
watch the pitcher, watch the catcher,
flinching.
watch everything else that's going on. You can't watch the guy that's behind you.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'll be sideways looking at him like, don't you dare.
This is a great little base running chat we just had.
Something
And
that's
back
not
to Hector Neris.
Intricacies
Back
of the
to
game.
Hector Neris. I'm
Intricacies
excited.
of the game, though.
I do want to say that I'm excited for the addition of Hector Neris, and I think he's going to be really good for us. Thank you very much. That was a good segment on Hector Neris. You know what else I want to talk about?
Yep.
Bruce Bolt. Tom's favorite company, Bruce Bolt. BruceBolt.us. We're going to get some more Bruce Bolt stuff. Bruce Bolt's going to send us some stuff. We got some addresses. They're going to send us some stuff so that we can talk about it. We can wear it. We can love it. I love this sweatshirt from Bruce Bolt. BruceBolt.us. 2 pairs of batting gloves, baby blues, white with baby blue, back in stock very soon. On the baby blues are coming back. And it's about that time. It's about that time to get your gloves for the season. Mine are
Are
getting
those the
shipped
new
out
ones
to
you
AZ
sent
soon.
us? What was the color of the new one? Didn't you send us
No.
a new pair? It's a secret. Sorry.
BruceBolt.us. Do you want to talk about the Lions? Do you want 5 minutes?
No, I don't. I don't want to talk about the Lions.
Please. Were you heartbroken?
Zack and Tom can ask me about it, and I will give my thoughts. But I was broken last night.
So losing as a fan, like a big game, is it worse that night or the next morning when you wake up and you're just like, God, fuck.
No, last night was worse because also I said before we got on, I had some adult beverages during the game, which I have all postseason, and I was just sad. I was a sad man. But I said this morning is when I more so was able to talk about it. Like yesterday, I had 2 different group chats, my friends from college, and then like Zack, Scott, Duncan, Mark. And I just stopped responding. I was like, I can't talk about it. I have nothing to say. What I will say now, and I said it to Zack today, I don't disagree with any of Dan Campbell's decisions. None of them. The only one that I might disagree with is not going for it before halftime because it's who the Lions are. They went for it all year. They always were aggressive, and that's how they got there. That's how they play the game.
To go up 3 scores on the road is like, it's just a different. And again, it's not a chip shot. It was what, 45 and 47
yards? It was like
yards?
a 47 yarder there.
Right. Like, again, we're not talking a 23 yarder. That's an extra point, whatever it is. But like,
so my issues, the one before half, I would have been okay either way. I liked kicking the field goal because, like you said, it went up 3 scores. But the one in the second half, it was to go back up 3 scores again. But it was a 47-yarder. Our kickers have been iffy all year. And it was like 4th and 2. I was like, all right, like this is, or 4th and 3, I think it was. I think Amon-Ra caught a 7-yard pass the play before. I was like, this, like they go for this 100 times out of 100. Like they will always go for this. It's who they are. And then Goff throws a bad pass, but it hit Reynolds in the hands. He dropped it, where I got angry and I texted in the group text, and I'm trying not to get mad right now, is they show Reynolds on the sideline with his teammates joking around that he should have turned his hands the other way. It's funny. I guess it's funny to drop balls in the playoffs and lose football games. That's funny. That's all fun. And then a couple drives later, 3rd and 10, Josh Reynolds running across the middle of the field, right in the chest, dropped it. Not even close. That is insane. Is it still funny? Is it still funny today, Josh? I bet it's not. And that's where I got angry, is when he dropped 2 and Jameson Williams could have caught a touchdown. That would have been a heck of a catch. Still would have liked to see that be caught.
What I didn't like the timeout. I understand it's a long shot. Like at the end of the game, bro, if you're going to run the ball, 3rd down, whatever it is, and you don't get it, I would rather eat the 10 to 13, 14, 15 seconds and save all 3 timeouts. And if you score a touchdown, okay, you have a chance. And if you have 3 downs to stop them with 3 timeouts, okay, you get the ball back. If you don't get the onside kick.
Here's my issue with that. They got that completion to Ferkser down to the 1 with like a minute 10 left, still had all 3 timeouts. I think it was 2nd and goal.
Yep.
If you're going to run the ball, you do it then, because then you can get on the line and run another play.
Right.
But on 3rd down, you can't run the ball because then you have to call a timeout. You can't burn 30 seconds getting your field goal unit onto the field.
Right.
And you can't like hurry up and go for it, not get it. And then the game's definitely.
Then the game's over anyway.
I thought that was very dumb to try to run it on 3rd and goal versus 2nd and goal, where you could have hurried back up, tried to run a pass play, and then kick the field goal or do whatever and still have all 3 timeouts.
Yep.
I agree, because then you're hoping for an onside, where I think the rates of onsides now are like 0.01%. Like
no matter what, though, those will always scare me so much. Like you're like,
I think
there's a chance.
I think if the guy that dove and tried to grab the ball before it got to 10, I think Conley was going to miss it because he was like sliding.
He was like,
this might bounce right off him.
Yep.
So I think, I mean, who knows? But yeah, it was
football.
It was the greatest meltdown I've ever seen in sports. That's why I also said that this morning.
It happened so quick.
I think that's the toughest loss as a sports fan, is the one that you can sense from a mile away for 2 straight hours, where you're like,
Dakota said,
Are you reading my text?
It's 24/7. We're going to the Super Bowl. Like, we're doing it. And then all of a sudden it's 24/10, and then it's 24/17. And then, every time you're just like, it just keeps getting worse.
So
And then, to have that like 2 hour just meltdown, and especially like that's to me, that was like Bartman-esque loss for like that, for that franchise. Cause that's a franchise. They're the only team in the history of the Super Bowl era to have been eligible every season, never made the Super Bowl.
Hey, Tom, come on. We're not piling up on the guy.
Oh, couple more things. Like Tom said, I texted in both of my group chats when Ayuk dove and caught that ball off the helmet. I said, I can't believe we're going to lose this game. They were still up 24-10 at the time. They scored a couple plays later to make it 24-17, but I was like, we're going to lose. Like, this is it. There's no way we still win this football game. Very next drive, Gibbs fumbles the first play. Another issue with that is I get it. All the momentum's with San Fran, got to reestablish the run. David Montgomery had 13 carries for 95 yards. Maybe put him back in the game for that drive and just pound it down their throats like you did all night.
They were doing it at ease to start.
They were ripping off 8-yard runs every play, and that was making me so. And the fumbles happen, like whatever.
Right.
Like, it is what it is. He also, I think they said on the broadcast, he ran the wrong way. Yeah. Never got the ball cleanly. Just can't fumble there, is what it is.
Again, that happened. So that was the first play after
very first
touchdown. And it's like, you don't even have a chance. You're like, okay, all right, we'll get on track. Maybe have a long drive. And it's like, boom, punch in the face. And you're like,
and then San Fran scores to tie it. Next drive, we get to 3rd and 10. And that's when Josh Reynolds drops the ball. I'm like, you can't drop that ball. All the momentum's with San Fran. You can't go 3 and out. You just can't. Like, you can flip the field with a good punt, at least if you get that first down, but you have to get that first down. A text I got that bothered me was by one of my friends. It was at the end of the first quarter after the Montgomery touchdown. And he's a huge Lions fan too. So I feel bad saying it because we texted all year about the Lions. So like, we're on the same side. But he said in our group text, he goes, guys, this game is to go to the Super Bowl. And I said, I hate that you just said that. When he said it, it was 14-0. I go, I hate that you are saying that right now. I go, we know what it is. You're basically saying like, oh my gosh, it looks like the Lions are going to go to the Super Bowl.
Isn't it? Again, we had this conversation last time. We're like, we think that any of this fucking matters, but it's so funny how it plays out like that. You're like, that's your fault. You said that. And they switched everything.
I didn't say anything to him about it like after the game or anything like that. But in my head, I was like, when he said it, I was like, why? Why would you even say that? Like, there's 3+ quarters to go. There's so much game. But yeah, to close it up, it was Tom said, I texted it earlier today. Tom literally said exactly what I said. It was a mile away. Like, you could see it coming, and it was a slow, painful death. And we were talking with Scott, friend of the program, Scott F. Ross, earlier in the postseason, when the Browns got blown out, and we were discussing if it's worse to get blown out or die like a slow comeback loss like that. And I said, the slow loss is way worse. I said, I would have rather lost that game 50-7 because that hurt way more than getting blown out.
At least you're lucky. So when the Jets went to back-to-back championship games, I was in high school. I was a freshman and then a sophomore in high school. Going to school the next day was the worst thing ever.
That sounds cool. People are also just nonstop bringing it up. You're like,
all over you, like, oh, how about the Jets? How about shut up. Just shut up.
Especially in New York, where you have like such a because like a lot of cities like Detroit, pretty much everyone at school would be a Lions fan. In New York, there's not one fan
everywhere, bro.
Anybody.
Also, last thing I'll say, as I started with, I will also finish with, because all I've seen is tweets of people like making fun of Campbell for not kicking field goals, blah, blah, blah. Like RG3 tweeted something like, should have kicked. I'm like, did anyone watch the Lions? Like these pundits, like, did you watch the Lions all year? Like, it's what they do. It'd be like, to equate it to baseball, it'd be like if you get the extra inning rule where the guy's on second and all year you never bunt, you never bunt, you never bunt. You always try to get you take your 3 outs, whatever happens. And then all of a sudden in the postage, and you're like, all right, let's bunt the guy over. And the guy like bunts a pop-up back to the pitcher. Like, it's just what it's how they got there. Like, they were aggressive all year. It's how they played. And I have no problems with any of the coaching. That was my biggest takeaway is I hated seeing that like slander of like, what were they doing? Not kicking it here and this and that. I'm like, watch the Lions all season. It's what they do. They go for it always. Like I said, the one before half was the only one that like surprised me. He kicked it.
Do you
And
think the Lions will be?
to kick it.
Do you think the Lions will be back next year? Back in this game?
Campbell's such a real guy because he said it.
Did you hear that?
That was he literally
awesome.
told the team in the locker room. He goes, "It's unlikely." He said something along the lines of like, "It's going to be 10 times harder to make it back here next year." He's like, that's the reality of it. Like that was our chance. Just that kind of thing. And Ian, I mean, will they be back? I don't know, because what scares me is they're probably going to lose. I'd say 99% sure they lose their offense coordinator, Ben Johnson. He's like the hottest name in head coach searches. They might even lose Aaron Glenn, their D coordinator. So that's 2 big changes.
But Ian, like you said, to his point, Campbell's like, you know how it is to get to a postseason. Like, I was like, all right, we'll be back. And like, whenever I listen to anything and like the veterans say, like when you get to a postseason, they literally say like, soak every single second of this up. Don't take it for granted, because chances are, like you said, you're not going to be back. Like the Cubs go to they go to the CS, World Series CS, and like haven't been back, you know, like just little things like that. Yankees, you know, they've been on top of the world forever. They haven't made a World Series since 2009. Like, it's just, you always think like, well, look at our team, we'll be back. And like, you don't know what can happen. You don't know, like,
not
really
everyone is the
really
Kansas City
there.
Chiefs fans where they get to go every single year. You know what I mean? Like it's very
crazy.
rare that a team is there like the Patriots in the early 2000s. Like, so I still think they'll be very good next year, but like, who knows? Like,
you know, the balls you have to say is to Dan Campbell to say that after your team just loses and just says like, that's such like a real statement that I can guarantee 99% of coaches don't say, hey guys, guess what? Probably won't be here next year. But it's like in a respectable, and guys are like, instead of the cliche, I don't want to say cliche, but like, hey, remember this feeling, you know, where it's like, hey, chances are, guess what, guys? We're not going to be here next year.
Well, that's the cool thing about football is more and more head coaches now are like, the quote is like leaders of men, because like you have the coordinators that call the plays. In baseball, obviously, you can't do that. Like the manager makes all the decisions. You can't just like not be running everything. But like Dan Campbell leads the team, but he has his coordinators run all the players. Like Dan Campbell isn't calling in like, hey, we're going HB dive. Like he's just deciding like, hey, we're going for it here. Like he's just the leader of the team.
I didn't know if I should say this, but Liz and I started watching the Hard Knocks season. We're very into Hard Knocks. We were watching the Lions Hard Knocks season from 2022. And we watched the first 3 episodes, and we put one on during halftime, and it was like, man, we're going to get to watch this like leading up to the Super Bowl. We were all excited. And then the whole second.
Damn it, Tom.
Tom, that's on you.
I forgot about the history of Detroit sports. We just get caught up in the moment because, like, as you said, Campbell seems like genuinely a really, like, not just a great coach, but like a really good human being. And like, you buy into that story of like, man, this team hasn't been to a championship game in 66 years. Like all this, you just get caught up in for a second. And then you're like, shit, it's 27.
I'm telling you, Hard Knocks is the fucking worst thing in the world.
He's the guy too. Someone said it like, how often do you see a coach come into a city regardless of the sport and like change the culture in 3 years?
It's impossible.
Like he's been head coach 3 years. Like he flipped everything.
Bro, I would say in a year and a half, because last year when they were 1-7, like, bro, you know, it was 1-7. You're sitting there, you're like, oh my God, we have 7 more games left, whatever it is, whatever the math is, 8 more games left. Like, and they rattled off 7 in a row. And like, since then, you know, even they win that game last year in Lambeau at the last game of the year, when doesn't mean anything for them, but they spoil the Packers' chances. Like, that is a game that you can almost add on to this year where it's like, hey, this is a carryover of what we're capable of.
Yeah.
I think coaching is so interesting, where you can literally, like you said, control a team and like get grown ass men to believe in something, and it just rallies so many people.
Yeah, it's crazy.
In any sport, like they say it in any sport, like, hey, he's a great manager, he's a great coach, like he gets people to rally around him. Like if you lose a locker room, like, and guys don't want to be there, like it's such a slippery slope. Like, hey, do I rip into these guys, or hey, do I let them figure it out? Like, do I say a cliche thing or do I just kind of, treat it as it is? Like, it's such an interesting dynamic.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited for next year.
Go Lions.
Last thing. Last thing. What I was going to say, Zach, I was nervous. This thought popped into my head how I had watched all 3 playoff games alone in a basement. And I was
if you invited somebody, Dakota.
No. God, no. Yesterday? Come on. What are you, nuts? But like for the Super Bowl, I wasn't going to watch the Super Bowl alone. Like, that's like a holiday. But I was like, what if they go lose the Super Bowl and it's because I watched with other people? Like that thought crept into my head.
I tell you what, though,
they'd be on me.
If I'm ever in a position like that and the Jets are in the Super Bowl, every single person in that room has to be an absolute diehard.
Oh yeah,
I'm not watching with my friends. Not doing it.
Which Tom said, everyone like around me.
Yeah, of course,
fans,
right.
But like, I think I would have played it by ear, and if it didn't go well in the first half, I might have had to leave the party.
Yeah.
All right, 2 baseball things to get to. 2 baseball things. We're gonna get back on track.
That's your football talk.
Football talk brought to you by.
It's brought to us by DraftKings. Thank you very much, Ian. Looking for a super offer for Super Bowl 58? I don't know if Ian is, not a football guy, but everyone else in the world is going to watch the Super Bowl. You know you are, and DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered if you want to bet on it. New customers can bet on the big game and turn $5 into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Guys, you've heard me say this time and time again. If you're going to start gambling, the Super Bowl is the right time to do it. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code COMPOUND. New customers can bet $5 and turn it into $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on the DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of Super Bowl 58 with the code COMPOUND. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in West Virginia, visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 21 plus age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. All right, we're done with the football talk. That's a loss for Lions fans that's going to stick with them for the next 50 years, especially if they don't get back to the Super Bowl. But we're on to baseball talk, and we've got some good chop here to close you out on this week's Compound.
Rhys Hoskins goes to the Brewers. I like the signing for the Brewers. They needed the bat. They had the position open. Rhys wasn't talked about a ton because he was out all last year, but dude's been about as consistent.
Against us.
Yeah, he's been about as consistent as they come. He's hit 34, 29, skip 2020, and 27 and 30 homers. Like he's a 27 to 35 homer guy every year. He drove in 116 runs in 19. He's always slugged. He's been an above average hitter. Like he's been a really, really consistent bat, and there's no reason to think that would change.
That's what I agree. Cause like you said, like he wasn't talked about a ton as like the upper echelon of free agents, but I feel like he's the perfect. I said early on, I would have loved to see the Cubs go get him. I think he's the perfect, like you stick him in your 5-6 hole and he's going to produce. Like you said, he's going to hit 240, 250, 25 homers, 80 ribbies. Like I'll take that out of my 5 hole all year or 6 hole all year. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And he's got a good eye, gets on base, like great human. Like there's a lot of things to like about his game. And I think that he's a super productive player. And if he would have gone out this year and had a hit 250 with an 820 OPS and 30 homers, like I think he would have been a very sought after commodity and been signing a 5-year deal. So he gets 2 years. He has an opt out. Like I think he's gonna rake and then opt out. But
I think I was just gonna say, I was gonna say that I like when guys do that, kind of like it's a 2-year deal. Is it mutual after the first, or is it player option? Do you know? Not sure. Probably mutual.
I think it's mutual.
I like that because, like you said, like he goes out and hits. Who knows? Like maybe he says he goes and hits 260 with 30 homers and 100 ribbies. Like he's going to go get a huge payday next year. Like that's just smart to me to get the chance to be a free agent after this season, so you can go prove it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's actually a 2-year guaranteed solution. It's not mutual. It's 2-year guaranteed with an opt out. I
mean, that's what Belly just did. Signed with you guys for 1 year, made good amount of money, and now it's like, all right, now pay me lots.
I mean, it's what Riz kind of signed that type of deal too, and had the ability to opt out and get another, and ends up signing back with the Yankees. But it's a good deal for him, but I think it's a better deal for Milwaukee. And then you also had Jock. You also had Jock Peterson. Jock went to the D-backs.
That is sick for them. And
sick for Jock too, because he's always had AZ spring and AZ, and being able to, that's a young, good team and like a really great personality coming to the clubhouse. Great bat. He'll probably mostly DH, maybe play a little bit of left, mostly DH, and he has raked right-handed pitching the last few years. Raked.
That's also a team that they needed a DH bad, right?
They just need a little bit of thump in the middle.
Yeah. Well, and they got Suarez as well.
Yep, they got Suarez as well. So Suarez is going to play third. He'll DH. Maybe they'll do a little platooning where Suarez DHs a little bit against lefties, and we'll give them a little bit of option there. But Jock, dude, he rakes, and like the way that they'll match up pinch hitting late in games with him, stuff like that.
And from what I've heard, you and other guys that play with them, it's a fucking beauty.
Damn it,
beauty of a human. Beauty.
I hate when you beat me to what I was going to say.
Absolutely,
I was going to say the same thing.
Amazing.
I was going to say,
yeah.
I was going to
say, an amazing clubhouse guy, and like obviously that team believes that they can get back to the World Series, but like he's only going to help that.
That's what I was going to say. Exactly what Zack said. Based on what I've heard from you, Ian, like I feel like he fits in perfectly with that team. That based on their run last year, like they just seem like kind of like a fun team. Like no one thought we'd be here, but here we are, and they just like enjoy it. Like they have fun.
They do have a lot of left-handed bats in that lineup. A lot of left-handed bats, and Gurriel signed he signed back, right? He signed back,
yeah.
He signed back, so he's there. He's right-handed. Christian Walker's right-handed. Moreno, the catcher's right-handed.
Cattell's switch, right?
Cattell's switch.
Marte's switch.
Cattell Marte's switch, and he rakes lefties.
He rakes righties too.
He rakes.
He just rakes.
Rakes in general.
Underrated player.
So should be pretty lineup. Pretty lineup. Bullpen's still intact. Starting pitching still good. They're gonna be in it again. And they got the Dodgers that just keep signing players. James Paxton just keep signing players.
Yeah. When and where? Let's predict where Belly and Snell go, because those two. I mean, enough. I'm done. I'm done hearing the rumors. Tell me where you're going.
Did you see Snell still only has one offer, and it was for the Yankees?
I think all those guys only have reportedly one offer.
Like, I guess I read something.
Snell's the only offer reported.
He wanted like 9 for $250 or like whatever it was, and then the Yankees offered something for like $150. Am I right?
If there's one offer and it's fucking January 29th, like what the fuck are we doing? I know we're trying to curse less in the show, but what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, hey, yell at Tom.
Ian,
this is like it's a joke. It's January 29th. If you're telling me Blake Snell, the reigning Cy Young winner, is available as a free agent and one team has offered him a contract, I don't understand what the fuck.
Whose fault do you think it is?
I mean, obviously the owners. I mean, it's in the organizations. Unless Snell's telling them he wants 7, Ohtani money, and they're like,
they didn't. I mean, he's a Boris guy, isn't he?
That's the only. Unless like Boris is just telling every team that unless you're offering a number that starts with 5 or something, you don't even bother. But like, how do we not have offers out for guys? Yes, Dakota.
Ian, wouldn't you say? I feel like you'd have. Well, you never got to free agency, but you'd know more about this. Wouldn't you say there's probably a good chance that like they've exchanged numbers with numerous teams though? Like obviously like the only actual offer has been out there was the Yankees, but like don't you think like other teams have probably been like, what's he want? And then they're like, well, we'd give him this. Like those kind of conversations go on or no?
Yeah. Hey, what's he want? He wants a zillion. Oh,
Well, that's what I'm guessing.
That's a
Like
shame.
they call his agent. His agent says like, we're looking for this. And then they say, well, what about this? Like, I'm sure they exchange numbers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure they floated a number early and they're shopping a number. And like, if teams aren't even presenting offers within the range, then like they're probably just hanging out, being like,
which I am with Tom. It's insane if people aren't within the range because he just won the Cy Young. He was the best pitcher by far in the NL.
He's a 2-time Cy Young. It's not like it came out of nowhere. He's a 2-time.
The second half of last year, he was quite literally the best pitcher in baseball. Like not even close.
So
like how are teams not lining up to pay this man?
I don't know if it's true. He's currently seeking a contract of 9 years, $270.
I think he's worth it. You could have told me 10 for 3, and I'd be like, yeah, he's probably around there. Like, why would he make less than what like DeGrom and Scherzer and them are making?
Because
like,
his numbers outside of the Cy Young have not been superb, and he walks a lot of guys. Let me see.
Listen, that's a high number, and I understand why teams might be hesitant to pay him that. That number, though, is not so outrageous that you can't throw him off.
I mean, he's he's disgusting. Don't get me wrong.
Like that's a realistic figure. Like if he's
30, he's 31 and he wants a 9-year deal. Again, I don't know if this is true or wrong.
Like, but $30 million a year for a top of the line starter, which is what you're paying him as, even if, as you mentioned, some of the numbers are maybe not indicating that. If you think he's a top of the line starter, which obviously he thinks he is, and certainly I'm sure some teams think he is, then $30 million a year is a reasonable price. Why aren't we seeing 4 for 120? Try to get creative.
Or you'd think that, like, I feel like I'd hear at least like a 8 for 200 offer being extended to him. Like, you're telling me this guy can't make $20 million a year? Like, that's crazy.
I agree.
Or $25 million a year. Like, he's worth 8 for 200.
In 2018, when he won the Cy Young in Tampa, he was 21-5 with a 1.89, 31 starts. That's
at his peak.
Those are terrifying. Those are terrifying numbers.
At his peak, he's quite literally like him and Garrett Cole, probably like the best 2 pitchers in baseball. Like,
what's interesting? So the Rays are pretty like take him out during before his 3rd time around, right? Threw 180.2 innings that year, and then this year he threw 180 innings on the dot.
180 innings with 234 punchies.
He strikes out a zillion people.
I got a sick knockoff and broken bat. It was nasty.
Need him. Is he throwing at a weird ass angle? Is he just like
super high? And his heater is like 97, and it's in the zone. And then his slider is out.
When you're at Wrigley and you face a guy like that, or even like Bumgarner, who's some like all the way on the other side, does it come out of the crowd? Because the batter's eye is not like straight behind. Right?
But it's actually longer that way.
Is it?
Yeah. It does. Nobody comes out of the crowd.
Nobody does?
No.
Interesting.
But yeah, I don't know where he's going to end up. I don't even know who's interested. I have no idea. People keep signing. I mean, like the Dodgers are obviously out. Yankees are out. Boston? Are they going to do anything?
Are the Yankees out though? Well, they signed the Japanese guy, but like, is their rotation done?
The Yankees didn't. What Japanese
Yankees?
guy?
Who?
Didn't they sign a starter, Tom? Am I crazy?
They signed.
No, the Cubs signed that guy.
Yeah.
That's who.
Where are you? What sport are you in? This is baseball.
I picked the wrong team. Like, it's not that far off.
He's out on a tough day.
It's not that far off. God. Tom's a Yankees fan. Ian's a Cubs fan. I knew that.
To be clear, Ian plays for the Cubs. I think Ian and I are a little different. I'm a Yankees fan. Ian's a Cubs actor.
No, I think it's pretty similar.
What's his name now?
San Francisco has to spend some money. San Francisco's going to be in the running.
Imanaga guy is who I was thinking of. I forgot which team
he's
signed.
on our team. He's my friend.
You didn't even know who I was talking about, and it's your team.
I thought we were talking about the Dodgers. I thought you were talking about Yamamoto. I thought you thought the Yankees signed Yamamoto. Like, I'm so confused of where you're at. I knew that the Yankees didn't sign any Japanese pitchers, so I knew you couldn't be right. But the Giants have to spend some money. We'll see if they get one of these guys. It feels like they have to get at least one of them. And I don't really know where the other options are. Texas is not going to spend money on him. I don't know.
My thing with the Giants,
Houston just signed Hader. Like, I don't know where the money is.
I don't understand the Giants being a name thrown around. Like, I get they have money. And I'm sorry if any Giants fans are listening, but like in their division, like the Giants line, I almost said Lions. Oh my God.
You did say Lions.
Oh God, this is not good.
The Giants lineup, like that, it doesn't strike me as a team that can make the playoffs in the NL. Is all I will say, that open and honest.
They're going to use that as bulletin board material. They're going to have.
I don't think they're going to care what I say. I don't think they'll care what I say, but I'm just saying, like, you play the Dodgers, the Diamondbacks, like I don't see them stacking up with those teams, even if they go get Belly right now. Like I don't.
The Padres are still good. Maybe the Padres will pay him. Padres have that money.
I think the Padres might be stinky.
Stinky.
I mean, they traded Soto. Wasn't Hader there last year? Like, I don't see them competing.
Padres have talked about cutting payroll.
That's I was like, I think they're in sell mode. Like they went all in, it didn't work, and I think they're going the other way.
They signed Cronenworth this last year, and now they're already trying to trade him.
They probably I bet they try to get rid of. I bet they try to trade Darvish.
Their owner also recently passed away.
So yeah, he passed, and he was like, yeah.
Which is obviously super unfortunate. He was a guy that was really about going all in for them. So
yeah.
And
Last topic.
They got players that scream all in. Like they went and got Hader, Machado, Soto. Like Bogarts. They made the moves.
Hey Tatis, swing up Bogarts. Okay, last topic. Colt Keith signs a pre-debut extension with the Tigers. 6 for 32, 6 for 28, 6 for 28.
It was 28.
It can like max out
with 3 options if he gets all his escalators and all the options are picked up and maxed out at 9 for 82. Zach, did you ever play with him?
I haven't played with him. I was in spring and I knew of him, just, mega prospect coming up. And it felt like anytime he had one of those 8th inning at bats in spring training, it was something loud and just something like, I mean, this guy is one of the better hitters I've ever seen. And I mean, they needed, another thumper between, Carp and Torque. I mean, I think, again, if he continued, I think he hit like 330 or something in the minor league this year. Lefty.
Lefty, I think second baseman, throws right, hits left. Second baseman, 22 years old, probably will start opening day with them now that he signed this thing.
He hit 306 with a 932 OPS this year.
In triple ball?
In 2 levels, double A and triple A, 27 homers, 38 doubles.
You're too busy in the big leagues to play with him, huh?
Yeah, that's me.
I think I like the moves. Like, obviously, the Braves, I feel like, were the first, or well, John Singleton with the Astros might have been the first, but like the Braves do it a lot now with obviously their guys. It's such a no-brainer for me if you're the player to take these deals, because like you're not even getting to ARB until 3 years later anyway. And you have this security of like, they could cut me tomorrow or I could stink for 6 years and they still have to pay me this money. I think it's a risk by organizations, but also it could pay out in that the last 3 to possibly, up to 8 years, you said, or up to 9 years. Like those last couple of years, like you could be getting him at a huge bargain of like, he could be a $20 million a year player, you're paying him.
I read something. It's like teams don't really miss on early extensions for the most part. Like they're going to save. Yes, Ian?
No, you want to finish that?
No, I didn't really have much. Just they don't like, again, Acuna kind of got screwed. Ozzy got screwed.
I just want to fact check a little bit.
It's kind of funny. Sorry. I just wanted to add on to that point before you got to your point. It's funny that like the first one that did it was John Singleton and he didn't pan out.
Yeah.
Like that's what's kind of crazy. It's like the first one I can think of that it happened. Ian, you were going to say something different. I think
Ian has to sneeze. Oh, he's back.
No, I was just going to wait. I thought you'd call on me when it was my turn.
Sorry, go ahead.
Trying to get something out here. I think there's a little bit of we have to distinguish between pre-debut deals and guys that are good players in their first and second year and get an extension. So like,
for sure.
Acuna Ozzy, like those dudes had played in the big leagues and had success, and then signed pre-arbitration in their first 3 years, signed a deal. These guys, we're talking about Milwaukee just did it with their catcher. This guy, Scott Kingery, remember Scott Kingery from Philly?
Yes.
He was a pre-debut deal. Singleton was a pre-debut deal. Eloy Jimenez pre-debut. Maybe Luis Robert pre-debut.
I think he was.
So pre-debut are much more rare, and I think that actually the hit rate on pre-debut is not quite as good as the pre-arb. You can't like lump them all. It's very different. This guy's never played in the big leagues.
That's true.
That's why I'd say the pre-debut, if I'm a player, I'm for sure saying yes. If I already have 2 years in the show, I'd be like, I might just wait till I hit arb and then like, what do I know? But I'm saying like Ozzy always knows guys, like then I might have waited. But like pre-debut, I'd be like, you're telling me I've never stepped foot on a big league field and you're going to guarantee me $28 million? Sure.
What color ink do you want? What color ink do you want me to sign with?
Like,
I
yes,
think
please.
I think the players were probably hoping that when the CBA was negotiated and some of these like pre-arb pool where if you win rookie of the year, you win some stuff and you have a big war, you can get paid out a little bit, would discourage some of this.
But why is it bad? Why explain that?
But I think the issue is that those guys can still participate in the pre-arb thing. Well,
yeah.
because
You can. Oh yeah,
you can, which is maybe shouldn't be, but you have like if this Colt Keith, if he is a good player, if he's a really good player, like it seems like I think he's going to be, he's a uber prospect. He could make, 5, 8, 15 through the ARB system, and then he's a free agent at 28, 29, and then he gets paid. Now he's not going to be a free agent until he's 31. If he's a good player, he's not a free agent until he's 31. Does he have $80 million in his pocket? Yes, but the back end deal now he has to sign.
It's not going to
be 3 year, 4 year. It's not going to be that big. Like we're talking about these Bellinger type deals where there's more money on the table. Can't fault anybody for taking the security, but I think that like then you lose. And the problem for players is then this guy doesn't go through the ARB system. He doesn't push it forward.
Then he doesn't. He doesn't have the market.
Right. Well, nobody gets the comp to him. Like when you go through the ARB system, like if this guy is a player and he goes to first year ARB as a second baseman who hits for power, and he makes $5-6 million in his first year ARB, then the guys that come after him use him as a comp and keep pushing the market forward. So now they've taken him out of the system. You don't ever get to use him as a comp. Same with Acuna. Like Acuna would have been pushing the envelope on what Soto's done to the ARB system. Soto's got paid $30 million in his last year of ARB. Acuna would have been pushing that envelope with him the whole way. And like Acuna would have made a boatload. He would have made $400 million in free agency. And that's kind of like the trade-off.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because I get what you mean. Like that's something I've never completely understood with the ARB process and how it helps when like the star players or like upper echelon talent stay and go through the ARB process so that other players can like compare numbers and get their numbers based off of, what they got.
Yeah, I saw somebody, I can't remember who it was, but I saw somebody go through the ARB system this year as a first time eligible and get $4 million, and they had to have used me as a comp in the case. And like that's awesome. It's awesome that like I went through and went to a hearing my first year to get my number, and somebody now can use that to get their number. That's great.
Did you send him an invoice for 5%?
Yeah, it's like,
hey, you use my name in the case. I heard. I'll take a little, John.
Come on the pod. Let's get the people to screen time. We actually had a more robust conversation than I thought we would, based on the lack of activity in this market that is driving Tom crazy. It's driving Tom nuts.
But look at us. We can still hold the show.
We're professionals, That's what we do.
Ever heard of
professionals. Why don't you go ahead and say your screen time, and then I will talk about Sloan in a second.
What day are we doing?
6:38 today.
Come on, Tom.
Tom, what was that?
Yesterday's was only slightly worse for me anyway because I didn't look at my phone for 4 hours.
See, when I'm watching a big game, I'm on Twitter a lot because I want to see other things of like what happened.
No.
What are the
I'm
screen
too-
times?
I'm
Can we
too
can we
locked
say
in.
the screen times? I
6:38.
haven't heard 6:38. Ew.
I'm
a
gonna
good day.
fire off a 414. Wow, Ian, nice.
436.
Boy, Tom.
Tom, that baby. Sloan is the world's leading manufacturer of commercial plumbing systems. The company is at the forefront of the green building movement and provides smart, sustainable, and hygienic restroom solutions by manufacturing water-efficient products, including flushometers, faucets, sink systems, soap dispensers, and fixtures for commercial, industrial, and institutional markets worldwide. To learn more, visit sloan.com. I win with 229. 229 for me. I'm the winner chicken dinner.
I don't think anyone roots for you to win this.
No,
no
nobody.
one can enjoy hearing.
I've
your
asked all of our
2 hour-
listeners too, and nobody
Yeah.
roots for you.
When people listen to the pod and they see me come in with 220s while you guys are sitting on 4s and 6s, they're jumping up and celebrating. They're jumping up. They're making themselves some Connect roasters. They're having a little pour over them. Maybe they're having an espresso martini because they're so.
And then they're
fired
going
up.
to the bathroom
I mean-
in Sloan toilets.
Yes,
Did you
that's
see
exactly
last
right.
week, Zach, after you said that how Ian doesn't like watch other sports, like his favorite sport is the stock market?
The
Like
stock
someone
market?
tweeted at us something
That was a funny
like
tweet.
the Dow Jones
That was
down
good.
or something.
Yeah, it was,
That
it
was
was
so
like it was
good.
like a down day for the market. They tweeted like tough day for Ian. He's
Yeah,
really
that
sad.
Was really
It was
good.
That was great. I enjoyed that tweet. I thought it was very funny. Maybe we should get sponsored by Dow Jones. That's episode 193, 173. What is it?
93.
193 of the Compound Podcast, presented by Connect Roasters. Go to connectroasters.com. Use code Compound15 for 15% off site wide, or code Compound Club for 25% off your first Home Run Club shipment. Connectroasters.com. We'll see you next week.